Hi, my name is Loris Crow, and we are executing a Showtime. Zig Showtime is a show and a community for makers. Watch the show to learn about interesting projects and join the Discord server to share what you're working on and to collaborate with other members of the community. And if that's not your style or you're new to Zig, make sure to check the other Zig communities to find one that suits you best. So, hello, episode 21. It's been a while, I know, sorry. just That's just how things are. But I have a bit of news, I guess. So let's go through the news. And I know after me there's gonna be Andrew, so I know everybody's waiting for that. This is why I put my news first. So you have to go through them first. Okay. Let's see. What do we have here? I'm gonna go through the news fairly quickly. I'll try not to waste too many words on them so that we can go into the talk quickly. But news number one, there's gonna be a different cadence for Showtime. Before we had a weekly show, now it's gonna be monthly. Now, if you want to know why this big of a change, well, I guess a little bit of reasoning is in image that you're seeing, but also in general, I would recommend just check out the newsletter. I explain most of my reasoning in there, and I'll also write more about the same topic in general. But in any case, for this new season, we're going to experiment with a lower cadence. News number two, I guess, or if you will, like this also connects with one of the reasons why Showtime now has a lower cadence, and that is that I want more people to start streaming Zig Live coding, and like I'm basically freeing the bandwidth for people to do that. So I will stream myself also fairly frequently, I think, but I do want to see. I do want to give space to other streamers. Which brings me to other things that I'm doing to help with that a little bit. And one is Susie. So Susie is, I want to make it the mascot of Showtime. It's meant to be, it's an anagram of usize. It's one of the many ways in which I mistype usize. And the idea of Susie is that, well, right now it doesn't have an avatar, so some parts of the design are still to be decided. But the idea of Susie is that it's a bot in the Showtime Discord server. Every time you start streaming and you have your Twitch account connected to Discord, if your stream title contains Zig and the Zap emoji, boom, you get promoted into the Live Now category, and people can see that you're streaming. I'll also experiment with notifications because in theory I could also send those. But like the idea is that I think that this promotion into a different category on Showtime, in a way, it seems like less prominent because we are not sending out a message that could potentially like ping somebody. But at the same time, notifications, in my opinion, are a bit of a mismatch with this type of thing. They tend to get stale. Like you see a notification from 3 hours ago. Is the streamer still live or not? You don't know. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. In this way, you know, as long as somebody is in that category up above, you know they're streaming. It's not deployed yet. Like I have to set things correctly, but we're getting there. So, and here's the interesting thing. Maybe you will be able to see Susie also in other Discord servers, not just the one from Showtime, which I think is going to be interesting. That's not all, though. I'm working on more tooling for streamers. Meet Bork. Bork is a Twitch chat client for the terminal that can display emotes in the terminal. And since it's not an IRC client, it understands Twitch-specific concepts like, I guess, subscriptions or user roles in general, like moderators. It understands highlights, it understands subscriptions, gifts, and other stuff. It doesn't implement yet every single Twitch feature. Again, I'm slow at implementing this stuff, but you can start to see how the grand plan is coming together, right? So yeah, I'm working on these things, and I really want to make it nicer for people to start live coding Twitch, live coding on Twitch, Zig programming if they want to. So in other news, let's see. I don't have a screenshot for this, but I started blogging on dev.to, and I think it's a very nice platform. I'm not the only one. There's been also other people writing there, Matt Knight, and a few others. I do recommend checking it out. Like if you want to write something about Zig and you don't have your own blog properly set up, you don't want to go through the annoyance of setting a static website generator app, themes, and everything else, check out dev.to. It's not the best, but in the absolute sense, but to get started is absolutely reasonable. The experience is not that bad, and I think it's enjoyable. So write a blog post there and make sure then to share it with other people. Tag it Zig. We have a Zig tag, by the way. And the Zig tag recently has gained a moderator proper, like it's a tag that is maintained by the dev.to ecosystem. It's like not just a random tag. But in any case, share it with the communities on Discord. Like the main Discord community has a showcase channel where you should link to this stuff whenever you write something. Next, let's move into stuff more specific to me, what I'm doing. First of all, yesterday an interview with Abner from the handmade community premiered on his Twitch channel. I think he's gonna post this as it's a podcast. So he showed it on Twitch, but there was like no video part. It's just the audio recording, and yeah, it was an interesting chat. I definitely did not expect to end up in a podcast with people from the handmade community when I first did I don't remember, was it a Kickstarter? Well, when Handmade Hero started. So, I mean, things have progressed in interesting ways. That was really, really nice. But I think that the discussion was interesting. It was about I don't know, I guess some of the missing ingredients in systems programming and how to make systems programming better by fixing what's missing. And one of the things that are missing, at least one of the points that they argue in this blogcast, is that empathy is one of the points that are missing, but not empathy in the sense of sharing emotions, which I think should be called sympathy, but in a more pragmatic way. If you're an engineer, a systems programmer, I do recommend you check it out. Abner himself also has a lot of insight on many of these ideas. So yeah, take a look at that. Next is, how can I say? It's, I don't know, the end, the start of a new journey. I don't know how to call it. Well, boom, Google finally approved the Showtime YouTube channel, and I'm now officially a YouTuber. I don't know what that means. I do feel this itch inside. I need to recommend Raid Shadow Legends. It's the best game ever, and when you play it through NordVPN, like the gaming experience it's so much better. And I also learned how to become a better Raid Shadow Legends player by looking at strategy on Curiosity Stream, and like it's amazing. So I don't know, I'm starting to feel these new emotions. But jokes aside, I've been accepted in the partner program. I can monetize my videos, which is nice since now these fuckers have started to put ads regardless whether I get money or not. At least they have to profit share now. I do still strongly recommend that you install a ad blocker. I don't care. I think it's the right viewing experience. So don't feel bad. I do strongly recommend you keep your ad blocker enabled on my YouTube channel. I know people sometimes don't do that. Keep it on. Fuck it. And I think that's all. Yeah, I think these are all the news. So I guess we should move to Andrew. Well, first of all, let me thank people. Thank you, Matt, for the gifted tier 1 subs. Thank you, Not Live, for your Bezos bucks. Much appreciated. So, yeah. Okay, let's take a look at what Andrew has reserved for us. Let me switch to the title. Andrew has a dream. a almost statically linked dream, where video games can be built and distributed for Linux as distro-agnostic executables. Gaben, I know you're watching. Put down Half-Life Alyx Episode 2, because you might want to watch this. The talk is 2021, Year of the Linux Gaming Desktop. Andrew, the stream is yours. Okay, I think people can hear you now. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? It's Andrew. Remember me? I'm that guy. All right, let's talk about 2021, Year of the Linux Desktop. I'm going to tell you about how I made a proof of concept for portable Linux game executables that can run on any Linux distribution. Everyone always talks about Year of the Linux Desktop. Is it going to be this year? No, it's not. But let's explore this idea. Why are Windows and Mac OS more popular than Linux? It's just because of games. That's my premise. There's the single one reason why these operating systems are more popular. Why do game developers choose Windows and Mac OS over Linux? Well, because they're not stupid. They're trying to make money. And this is based on the Steam hardware software user surveys. And if your goal is to make money and you're not targeting the blue part of that pie chart, you're doing it wrong. If you're targeting the yellow part of the pie chart, thank you. But obviously that's not going to make you money. Why do gamers choose Windows? Why is there so much of a big blue area there? Because that's where the games are. What we got here is a feedback loop. It's just self-reinforcing. You can't, if the games are on Windows, then gamers are gonna come to Windows, and then the game developers are gonna target Windows, and it's just gonna stay there. I don't have an idea to break the feedback loop. It's too hard. So is 2021 the year of the Linux desktop? Nope, because I can't break the feedback loop. That was just a bait and switch clickbait title. But I do have an idea to make the Linux gaming experience seamless for players, which I think is worth exploring, and maybe we can widen that yellow part of the pie chart a little bit. All right, demo time. I know that a large part of my audience here will be watching this later on, I don't know, Vimeo or YouTube or whatever. And it might be months, weeks, years later after this talk. Tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this URL up. I won't clean my temp directory for years. Don't worry, I already haven't cleaned my temp directory for years. It's a beautiful little URL here, static window 9. You can guess why there's a 9 there. It just has to do with how many times I failed before. But this is a Linux ELF file. If you trust me, I promise this is just this little window with the triangle here. If you want to try it, if you have Linux and you want to try it, see if it works for you after all this time. I'm not confident that years later it'll still work, but maybe. Let's find out. So what I think should happen then is if you're on Linux and if the VK-Cube demo app works for you, I think this one will work for you too. That's the proof of concept. So what this application is doing is it's actually using X11, or if you have Wayland installed, it's going to use the extension of Wayland that supports the X11 protocol. And it's going to actually interact with your system Vulkan drivers and just draw this triangle. It's just a hello world triangle. Doesn't even support resizing or exiting. You have to kill it manually. But I've tested this on Ubuntu, Nixos, muscle-based Void Linux, glibc-based Void Linux, Clear Linux, Arch Linux, Debian SID, and it's able to, the same binary is able to run on all these different distributions. So I think this is a compelling idea, and I want to show you all of the problems I had to overcome in order to make this proof of concept work. And just to show you that, I mean, I'm showing you a slide right now, but I want to just actually run it. I mean, obviously I can, there it is, right? Not fooling you. Okay. So what are some of the problems? Like, why is this actually hard? If you're not familiar with this problem space, you might just be thinking, wow, this is just a hello world triangle. Like, what? Wow, like whoop-de-doo, that's so easy on Windows. And yeah, that's one way that Windows is way better as a game development platform than Linux. Because here are some of the problems that Linux introduced into this use case that arguably don't need to be here. So first of all, if you look at a normal binary, such as VKcube, I think I need to install Vulkan tools. If we just look at, so this is the VKcube program. If we just look at it, and we look at the dependencies that it has, you can see that it has a dynamic dependency on X11, on libc, and Vulkan loader driver. And these things are Linux distribution dependent. So the problem is that the way that the Vulkan drivers are available is dynamic linking with system libc, and that's the problem with different Linux distributions is that they all have they can have different kinds of libc. So you can have muscle, or you can have glibc, or you can have other. Those are the two most common ones, but you can have other. Also, you have to hard code the dynamic linker path. So for example, on the same binary here, if I look at read elf, oh, my face is right there, isn't it? Also, the font size is too small. If I do read elf on this binary, and I read the dynamic, I read the sections here, we can see that we have this interpreter inside of the binary, and this path right here, this is the path to the dynamic linker. It's hard coded in the binary. So if I try to run this binary, VKcube, on a different Linux, it would just say like error. It would never execute. It would never even get to main, because this path wouldn't exist on your computer. And the problem is, it's different on different distributions. On muscle-based Linuxes, it's one path. On glibc distributions, it's another path. On NixOS, it's the special path, and so on. So that's another problem that prevents this from working. That's one of the reasons that, for example, Steam only supports like Ubuntu-based Linux, because they're trying to eliminate all of these different situations and just only target one thing. So how do we solve this problem? Because the dynamic linker code runs before main. So it's like we can't even put code in there to solve the problem, because the problem has to be solved before our code runs. Well, Jonathan Marler also shares my dream about this issue. And I've been talking up a storm. I've been describing this vaporware solution to this problem for a while, but I hadn't done anything. But Jonathan Marler actually went off and he made this repository, and he explored one of these concepts. And what he came up with was a proof of concept of an ELF binary that you could execute statically, but then it would call execve on itself with a hard-coded path to the dynamic linker. Because the way it works is that if you just take this thing here, this dynamic linker, it's actually an executable, even though it's a .so. And if you pass it the first parameter to the in exe, it will run the exe dynamically linked with this dynamic linker. So he did a proof of concept on this, and it worked. And it inspired me. It gave me the itch to take it even further. So this one had a little bit of downsides, because it required building the binary with a dynamic dependency on a dummy shared library to make sure that the executable had the dynamic section. And then also it had to hard code the path to the dynamic linker. So I was inspired to take it even further, and I came up with a strategy. So what we want to do is we'll have a binary that does not have any dynamic dependencies, so it's statically linked, but it has a dynamic section, so it supports being run with the dynamic linker as the interpreter. And then inside main, it will check at runtime if we're running in the dynamic linker. If it's not, find where the dynamic linker path is at runtime, and then use that path it detected at runtime to execve itself. Then it has to detect which libc is the system libc, and then it can DL open libc, and then it can use that to find and load the Vulkan driver at runtime. And then finally, we can just do the game code to do the triangle. So that was my idea. But there were a lot of problems to overcome in order to accomplish this. So the first problem is this thing where we have a hybrid ELF file that supports both being run statically and also being run dynamically linked. So I'll show you an example here. I showed you LDD on the VK cube, but now I'm going to show you on the binary here. It says statically linked, okay? But if we take a look with readelf, and we do the L section here, we can see that there's not an interp section. So it does not say that there has to be a dynamic loader, because otherwise we would have to put the path in there, and we don't know what the path is. But it does have a dynamic section. So let's take a look at what the dynamic section says. So the dynamic section has all of these entries. This is just trash. I could get rid of this. That's just garbage. The thing that's important here is that we do not have any needed tags. So there is a dynamic section, but there is not any particular dynamic libraries that it depends on. So the way that this is accomplished is that when we build this executable, we actually do create a dummy library, and we make the static window executable link against the dummy library, dynamically linked. This one is not dynamically linked. This one is dynamically linked. It's shared. So that makes sure that there's a dynamic section. But then we use the patch elf tool, and we use remove needed on the dummy library. And so all this does is there was one of these entries that just said needed lib dummy, and it just deleted it. That's all this did. So we made it dynamically linked, but then we just deleted all the dependencies from so that it actually doesn't have any dynamic libraries that it has to run. So what this means is that we have a executable that supports being run both dynamically and statically. So it has a dynamic section, but no dynamic dependencies. And the OS or Linux will not try to run it with a dynamic linker because there's no interp entry. So that brings us to, that gets us to main. Now we can get to main. So what does main have to do? Main has a really interesting problem to solve, because when we get here, we get into main. We have two entry points here. On one hand, we could be being run in the dynamic linker, or we could be on the first run where we have to figure out where the dynamic linker is. So in this code, in the very beginning of main, it's actually, we don't know which one it is. We have to support both. So the way that we check is we actually have a weak extern on the DL open symbol. And so this is an important symbol because, first of all, this symbol is provided by libc, and it lets us dynamically load other libraries at runtime. And it's neat because making it a weak extern symbol means that we support if it's not available, in which case this code will run, because We don't have DL open because we're being run statically. However, if the symbol is available, then we go down here and we know that we're actually running inside the dynamic linker. So this is the code that we have to solve first. This is the code where we have to find the dynamic linker and then execve ourself so that we can re-enter main, but this time we have a dynamic linker. But we don't know which Linux distribution we're on. We're determining that information at runtime. Luckily, a lot of these problems are already solved by the Zig compiler itself, and they're put in the standard library instead of in the compiler implementation because they're generally useful. For example, right here. So we already have this function to detect native target info. And part of the native target info that's detected is what is the path to the dynamic linker. So we get the path, and then what we're going to do is we create an argv where the first argv0 is the dynamic linker that we just detected. And then the first argument is the path to our own executable. So I'll come back to these, but just to show you that part. So argv is right here. Yeah. So the first arg is the dynamic linker. And then, we're just respecting the other args in the function, but then we're inserting one in there. So we're going to put, yeah, right here. Wait, I thought we were putting the arg to the self exe. Okay, I got confused there for a second. We're definitely putting the dynamic linker in the first arg there. And then, right. So the situation is that the path to the self executable is already in the arg thing. So all we have to do is shift them over and put the dynamic linker first. Yeah. Sorry for the confusion. So that's for the arguments. Now we also have to mess with the environment variable a little bit because what we're going to need to use DL open, which is in libdl, and we're going to need to use some pthread stuff for mutexes. So we need next time we come into main, if we come in from the dynamic linker, we do need some of the libc stuff to be loaded, and we don't normally. It's in the dynamic section here, but remember we had to strip out all of our needed tags, so we have to explicitly mess with the environment variable here. So we actually take advantage of LD preload when we invoke ourselves, and we put libdl and libpthread inside the preload environment variable. And that way, when we call execve, this wipes out the executable's kind of state and replaces it with reloading itself. But now we're going to have these libc things available, and they're going to drag in whatever dependencies they have. So that's going to get us what we need. So next time we come into main, we get DL open. Now it's not null. Now we can call DL open because now we're running in the dynamic linker. Boom. Now we're here. So that is how we can have a executable that is both static and dynamic at the same time. That's not all, though. That's not all the problems. We still have to solve more problems. I'll show you. Okay, so next one. libc agnostic code. Now the problem is, I just showed you some of this stuff here where the LDD on VK-cube, this is glibc. But on other Linux distributions, it's muscle. And that's what this code is. So even after we load with the dynamic linker, not all libcs are built the same. So on glibc, it kind of just brings in everything all at once, and we can just go straight to here. For muscle, it's kind of more bare bones. So we have to do a little bit of work to set up. We have to call muscle's libc start main and give it a pointer to, we have to call exit manually. We have to do some more DL opens here on the libc symbols. But eventually, we're going to end up in main 2 on the muscle case, just the same. And the important part here is that we also can call native target info detect. Same thing we were doing earlier. Again, this is that code that we have for the Zig compiler purposes. But now, because the Zig compiler can detect your libc, so we want to detect the native triple. Right there, we detected that it's glibc. That same code can be used to detect, do we want a dynamic link against muscle, or do we want a dynamic link against glibc at runtime? And that gets us into, finally, the actual part where we can interact with the Vulkan and the X11 APIs. But that's still not all we still didn't solve all the problems. There's still more problems to solve. So finally, I had to hack up Vulkan Loader. So Vulkan Loader is a project by Kronos Group, and the purpose of it is to find the Vulkan drivers and populate the function pointers corresponding to the official Vulkan API. It does a lot of work for you because it does smooth over the differences in some systems. And I was able to hack it up to build statically. So what I did was I just took the, let's go back into this one. There. So I took the source files from Vulkan Loader, only the ones that were needed, and I put them in there. And so you can see that if we look at the build script here, I used the fact that Zig can compile C code using the libclang abilities. I defined C macros a certain way. I had to force it to use position independent code. And then I just listed only the files that we actually really need. And so when you run Zig build on this project, it will go ahead and build all the Vulkan Loader stuff that we need statically. But with pick, so that it can also support being run dynamically. And then here's the tricky part. I had to create my own libc h file and put all the libc functions that this project depended on. I made this file here, and I had to put attribute weak on all of them. So that way, when we go into main here, the first one, and we are actually running statically, the thing is we still have Vulkan Loader inside. All those functions that call libc are still in there, but they're not going to work because we're not actually loading libc right now. So if we tried to call inside here, if we tried to call any of the Vulkan Loader stuff, it would crash because every single libc function like memcopy, memset, put char, fclose, closedir, all these, they would all just segmentation fault because they're all 0. They're all null because they're weak. Weak means that you want it to link if you can, but if not, just make it null. So I had to override all of the libc functions here, because what we had to do is make Vulkan Loader. It's going to run. It doesn't know which libc it's going to run against. It finds out at runtime, right? So I had to hack that up, and then I also had to hack a patch into it. RTLD global. I think it's this one. Yeah. So I also changed this, or was it the X11 one? Anyway, I had to add a patch where instead of RTLD local, I used RTLD global, because when we finally get down to main 2 down here, it's right here. I added a comment about it. We need to DL open the X11 shared library, and the Vulkan library, the Vulkan driver will depend on this. So we know that by loading, by using the Vulkan loader, by using this, this is actually going to call, I don't know, it's going to call the first Vulkan loader function. And when that happens, that's going to force this to be loaded. And what we wanted to happen was that we wanted the dynamic loader to cache this. so that when we do it, we just get the same one that the Vulkan driver already loaded. So I had to add a patch to the Vulkan loader in order to do a global load instead of a local load, and that guarantees that this will work instead of trying to like namespace them or separate them by making it global. So I had to patch it in order to do that. So I showed you weak linkage. I had a patch. Yeah, and also caveat emptor. I was on the Discord group, I think, and I was talking to one of the maintainers of this library, and they were saying that they don't like it when people static link Vulkan loader because I don't remember. There's some reason that they don't want you to static link it. But it does make the game work. So I don't know. Maybe they should consider this a use case. Maybe they can try and make it work. Maybe Linux distribution maintainers can cooperate with Vulkan Loader and make sure that you can statically link against it, because this is what players want. They want to run the game. Okay, I think that kind of demonstrates what I had to do with Vulkan Loader there. And it's kind of a problem, right? Because if I wanted to, this is very much a proof of concept. Because if you go look at the Vulkan Loader project, it's got recent commits, and since I copy pasted code, I have to go pull those commits in, and you have to maintain a fork. Basically, it's a fork, so it creates work for yourself to try and keep up to date with them. So lots of caveats here in this proof of concept. Okay, and then finally, all that's left once we solve these problems is the application code inside here to just do the X11 API calls that we have to do to set up a window, set up a Vulkan context, all that stuff. Ultimately, what these are all doing is sending messages over a socket to the X11 server. But it's the most likely way to make it work is by actually using the libc shared objects, that the same ones that the actual graphics driver links against. That way, we just know everything's using the same stuff. Now, I did also have to do some tricks here because we want to cross-compile this, obviously, and these H files Vulkan Loader depends on, and so I don't want these to be they can't be from my system, although that would be wrong. So I had to go into X11, and I had to figure out in their weird build system how to produce these files, and then I had to go tweak the pound defines to be like safe for cross compiling. So there's a little bit of work here to do too, but it works. These are fine. I checked them out, and they're it's fine. It's just constants that won't change because it's a network protocol. They can't they can't change these things because it would break their ABI. So that's it. That's all that's left, is just the part where you do a hello world triangle with X11 and with this is just like basic Vulkan. I just followed the tutorial, vulkantutorial.com, to do the triangle. That's all this is. Let's see. Yeah. So that's it. That's my demo. That's all the tricks that I had to do to make this work. And I know there's probably some people out there, some game devs who are interested in this, and probably I'm guessing your projects are in C or C++, and you want to see how realistic this is. Honestly, it's not realistic. It's a proof of concept. You're going to have to jump through a lot of hoops to make this work. Now, I think this is worth pursuing, but I really think that the kind of conclusion that I want to make here is that we do need driver vendors and Linux distribution maintainers to explicitly acknowledge this use case. A lot of these hoops are arbitrary and unnecessary, and I'm demonstrating that it's possible to get around them. But really, I think that what we just need is an acknowledgement that this is user experience that players deserve, and we just need more people to demand this as how it works on Linux. So I hope this inspires you to just raise your standards for what we could have. And if enough people believe that, there's a minimum bar of what's acceptable, then the bar will raise. That's kind of what my goal is with this. Um, so if you want to check it out, the source code is here. It's very unpolished. It also regressed recently. It won't build right now due to some actual improvements that we made into the way that Zig links code and the arguments that we passed to LLD. And so my conclusion here is that this use case is special. There's a lot of moving parts here. And I think to avoid regressing this, if we wanted to actually support this use case, I think it would have to be an explicitly recognized use case by tooling in order to have it be reliably supported in the long term. Because if it's just a list of tricks that you have to do to make it all work, it's going to regress. If you don't care about this use case, it's just going to get trampled over because it's kind of weird. Like the idea of a hybrid, why would you have a dynamic section when you actually don't have any dynamic dependencies? Like a normal, a normal, if you just use your reasoning and you're writing a linker, you're like, well, I'm going to omit the dynamic section because there's nothing dynamic about this, right? So it's you actually have to think about this use case explicitly if you want it to not regress. That's kind of my takeaway here, and that's just not the status quo. So yeah, I think that's about it. And I think we're gonna have a QA section, but I'll let Loris say some words and kick that off.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, so let's switch to the Q&A. Okay. Let's see. So, while people start typing questions, by the way, just as a reminder to everybody, try to keep things on topic. I'm sure people have a ton of questions for Andrew, but we're going to talk about the roadmap next. So let's reserve your more general questions for that part of the show. So while people start thinking and typing up questions, actually, no, before that, just as a reminder, I'm looking at Twitch chat, I'm looking at Discord, and I'm also looking at IRC. So like #Zig on Freenode. So just make sure to tag me, and I'll be happy to take your questions for Andrew wherever you're most comfortable writing them. So while people think of questions, Andrew, usually I start by asking how you stumbled. No, wait. So that was interesting. Thank you. I think you raised a great point with the idea of having expectations, and I think this is a great point. This is one of the reasons why I'm on my main machine is a Mac computer. It's not a Linux machine, and it's not like I like Apple. I do not like Apple, but that's how it is for me, for other reasons. And yeah, I think your point is very valuable for this ecosystem. So okay, let's see. Let's see what people are saying. Okay, so let's start with GW1. Could you implement an X11 protocol in Zig to not have a dynamic dependency on XCB? Juicebox has started doing this.
You can avoid a dynamic dependency on X11 libraries just fine. However, if you want to use graphics drivers such as Vulkan or OpenGL, the graphics drivers have a dynamic dependency on the X11 libs. So you're already paying the cost no matter what. If you want to load the graphics drivers, you are loading the X11 shared objects into your memory space, whether you like it or not. So my opinion is if you have to do it, my logic goes like this. Premise 1, we need to use the graphics drivers. Premise 2, the graphics drivers use the X11 shared objects. Premise 3, we're paying the cost. Therefore, we're paying the cost for graphics for X11 shared objects no matter what. Conclusion, you should just use them since you have to.
Mhm. Thank you. So next question from Zakus. When is the Valve sponsorship coming?
Valve sponsorship.
Yeah,
Hey Valve, you want to sponsor Zig? You should definitely do it. Everyone's gonna be writing games in Zig in 5 years.
makes sense. I'll make sure to relay this to Gaben. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, just call
So
call him on the phone.
yeah, I always do that. Every time I miss my shots with the Tech 9 in CSGO, I call him up and start complaining. So,
Yeah.
what were the reasons? What were all the reasons you couldn't use the Vulkan SO? Weak C symbols and RTLD global. Wouldn't the C symbols work since you aren't calling Vulkan until after you're loaded libc?
I'm not quite sure if I understand the question, but let me try and let me know if I answered it correctly.
Okay.
So the first thing I tried here was I had this, and I did not have a patch to
By the
Vulkan
way,
Loader.
Andrew, you are not sharing your screen anymore. I think. Let me see if it's on my side. I refresh.
Should I refresh the place?
No, it was definitely on my side. So, okay, you're
Okay.
good to go.
Okay, so the first thing I tried was I tried to DL open this shared object, which I know was already loaded into the application's virtual memory by Vulkan Loader, and it just said null. It said there isn't one there because Vulkan Loader used local, and if you use local, what does the documentation for it say? I don't remember, but the point is because Vulkan Loader used local, and then I tried to do it later, it just said that it didn't happen because it was a different object or something. But when I switched them to use global, then this was started being guaranteed to return a valid object. Did that answer the question?
I hope so. That was a pretty advanced question for me. I guess Marler will let us know. By the way, it was from him. So,
Oh, okay.
so Marler, let us know. In the meantime, I'll go through the other questions. What would you need to change to make this work with Wayland?
Nothing, because Wayland supports the X11 protocol. How do you like that answer? I'll give a more serious answer, though. I mean, that is a serious answer, but I'll give another part two answer. If you wanted to explicitly support Wayland, how that would work is here we would just first try opening a Wayland object, and presumably it works the same way, where the graphics driver depends on Wayland instead of X11. So we would just try to open a Wayland object, and then if we got it, we use that one. Otherwise, we fall back to this one. So it'd be pretty straightforward. Um, but I am of the strong opinion that if Wayland is doing it right, this code should all just work fine on Wayland with almost no penalties.
Okay, another
And
question. Oh, sorry.
so nothing.
Okay. Another question. I'm not sure. I'm not fully. I don't fully understand it, but maybe you can do a better job than me. So, can the needed section be just the libname.so without the absolute path? I'm thinking this refers to the dynamic linker.
Can it be just the libname without the dynamic path? Let's take a look at.
Yeah, without the absolute path. So I'm assuming it's the dynamic linker, but I'm not sure. Maybe there's another SO file mentioned somewhere that has an absolute path.
So here's VKCube. This is kind of like our control case, right? This is a traditional app,
Yeah.
linked the normal way. So here's the needed entries for this one. You can see it has one for XCB. These are all for libc, and then there's the Vulkan driver. And it's not an absolute path. The absolute paths come in with the run paths here. And the problem is that you don't even with this way, you just don't know what you don't know what the run paths are until runtime. That's the problem. Like this run path this run path would be wrong for other distros.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe June will let us know if follow-up is needed. So Johnny Marley was saying then given your answer, then if we patched Vulkan to use global somehow, we could use the SO.
patched Vulkan or Vulkan loader? Because the example here, what's happening is that we call in here, we end up calling a bunch of initialization functions inside of Vulkan loader to load the Vulkan driver. And that's the code that is doing DL open, or sorry, yeah, that's the code that's doing DL open on here. And so all we're trying to do is just get the same one. So yeah, if Vulkan loader was we could just send the patch upstream, see if they want it. There would be arguments to not do it, but in this case, it's the right call. It's not a driver patch though. It's a patch to the Vulkan loader.
Okay. I think okay. People are confirming that the answers were satisfactory. So nice.
Cool, nailed
uh,
it.
awesome. Well, I mean, jokes aside, Valve is already doing a bunch of work to make games work on Linux, right? Steam
Yeah,
is doing a lot of things, and I think it's being fairly successful. I think there's also some games that actually run better on Linux than they do on Windows. So,
I sincerely hope that people at Valve watch this short talk and get inspired and use their influence and power to help the Linux distribution ecosystem support this use case better. I think that the users want it, the players want it, the game developers want it, and ultimately the Linux maintainers, the package maintainers, are going to do what people want. So we just have to make people want this more.
okay, makes perfect sense. Um, okay, so I think we can call it here. So thank you, Andrew, for the talk. That was amazing. We're gonna take a break, and after the break, we're coming back, and we're gonna talk about the Zig roadmap. So I guess the second part is gonna be even better. So um, see you all soon. Hello, everyone. We are back, second half of the stream. We have Andrew here, and there's also a special guest with us. Then we are going to introduce soon. We are going to talk about the Zig roadmap for, I guess, 2021, the first half of 2021. Well, the part that is in front of us. So, Andrew, tell us a little bit about the roadmap, but as a starters, before we go into like the future, let's talk about what's happening now. So what are the notable things that people should know about that we are doing today?
Well, one of the things that we started in this release cycle is we broke ground on the official language specification. And in order to tell you about that, I would like to introduce to you a very bundled up and cold living in Texas, Martin Wickham, who we have with us
Hello.
right now.
Yeah, it's cold here. So hi everyone. I've been working on the specking effort along with Andrew and Josh, and our goals right now are really to figure out the bounds of the language. You know, we want to keep Zig as a small, simple language, and that means figuring out where it ends. And so our goal with these meetings is to narrow down where the language ends and figure out sort of how all the pieces are going to work and how they're going to interact to provide infinite, language usage without having an infinite language. And so we've been doing those meetings, and that's been really helpful. And then eventually, once we find out once we figure all that out, then we'll start building the actual written spec.
Very exciting. Thanks for coming on and using your valuable
Yeah.
phone battery life to share that with us.
My pleasure. Yeah. Best of luck, guys.
Thank you, Specs. Thank you very much. By the way, for the people asking, Specs is in one of the areas in the United States affected by power outages. That's why he cannot be in video with us today. I actually did not expect he would show up.
Austin is not doing so hot right now.
But how are you? Are you doing fine, Specs?
Well, I've been without power for 2 days at this point, and all of the heating in Texas is electric. So we're at like 47 degrees and holding at this point, which is like 8.8 Celsius. But we're getting through it. Yeah.
I see. That sounds terrible. I cannot imagine 2 days without like my computer. So, that's a good moment to buy an Apple M1 if they give you it to you pre-charged.
Yeah, actually, my girlfriend works for ARM, so we have one.
Amazing. So you're good, basically. It's just the call, the problem. Do you have an Intel CPU laying somewhere? You can fix that. Well, anyway. Oh, thank you again.
Yep. See you guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Martin.
Yeah.
To elaborate on that, so the main way that we're making progress on the spec right now is closing issues, whether by accepting them or rejecting them. And we're doing weekly meetings, and I want to make sure it's clear. One guest per week is welcome to join. So if you have opinions about the Zig language, and you want to share your opinions with me and the other people who are making decisions about it, you're welcome to do that. So you can get in the queue. There's currently a wait of two weeks. I do prefer that it's people who we've seen, pop in the community and say hi, and that I like recognize your name. Otherwise, I don't know if you're just like some guy trying to troll me or something. But other than that, everyone's welcome. So that's one of the things happening now. We are making measurable progress towards a spec. And Martin has been doing a wonderful job leading that effort. And I'm very happy to report that he's getting paid for his efforts, thanks to donations to the Zig Software Foundation. he's able to clock hours and charge for his valuable time. So I'm thankful to all the donors to Zig Software Foundation that allow us to do that. So that's one thing. What else is happening now? The big focus of this release cycle is the self-hosted compiler. It's kind of the, in the game of pick up sticks, it's the big one that's on top of all the other ones that's preventing us from doing other things. We need a faster compiler, we need a less memory hungry compiler, and we need a more maintainable compiler that we can finish the language on. And that's what we've been sprinting towards here. And we have a lot of people doing awesome work on it. So I'm going to miss some contributors here. So I'm sorry for that. But I just want to acknowledge some in particular. Oh no, he told me how to pronounce his name and I forgot. Joachim's been working on backend ARM support. That's been wonderful. He's been working closely with Jakub, who's been working on Macho linking, as well as on ARM, as well as x86 recently. I believe he was in the chat earlier reporting some progress on debug info for x86 macOS. Great work there. I've been doing some work on performance, messing with memory layout and prototyping some ideas to just make the self-hosted compiler just scream in terms of going fast. So we can look forward to actually fulfilling the promise of performance there. And I want to say thank you very much to Isaac Freund as well as Kivikak for contributing to the branch where I broke everything and we have to fix it. So it's been nice working with you all there. Luke has been working on the WASM backend. Great job there. Timon, also known as Firefox, been working on the self-hosted LLVM backend. Also great work there. And finally, Avexu has been working on the compiler front end and Translate C. And we thought we were going to lose him to mandatory military service, but he's actually found some free time. So he's been able to do some contributions there. So great work, everyone who I listed. And I know I'm not mentioning a bunch of people. You are also valuable. What else is there? Right. That leads me to my next point. We're talking about the roadmap right now. And I'm mentioning that the main focus is the self-hosted compiler. That remains true. That's what I'm prioritizing. But there's a hack that you can do if you want to control the roadmap. And the hack is make a pull request, because I do always set aside time to merge pull requests. And I know they pile up a little bit. Right now we're looking at, what are we looking at, 44 open ones? Yeah, oldest one is a month or two old. So they pile up a little, but I do get to them. I do spend a lot of time merging pull requests and helping people get unblocked. So if you want to control the roadmap of Zig, you can with this one weird trick of making a pull request. Now, obviously, you can't just, you have to go along with the project. Maybe I'll want to push back and say that's not the direction I want things to go, or it's going to conflict or something. You still have to, coordinate and cooperate, but you can affect the priority by making pull requests. So use that responsibility wisely. As an example, I want to acknowledge King Pradi's synchronization efforts. I'm not sure, is that pull request ready to go? No, it's still a draft. But he's been doing a bunch of work on Zig's synchronization primitives, and I'm really excited to get that merged. That's an example of something that we're going to prioritize because King is doing the work of the pull request. And so there you go. He earned the priority there. Also, if you would like to contribute to self-hosted compiler, you are very welcome to. If it's intimidating, if you want to, but it's intimidating, here's my challenge to you. spend 5 minutes trying, maybe 10, maybe 20. Spend 20 minutes trying. Write down what you get stuck on, and then give up. Come to the next weekly Stage 2 meeting on Discord, and just tell everyone how you got stuck, and then we'll unstick you. And then you can be a Stage 2 contributor. That's all it takes. Everyone is welcome to come. Everyone who wants to contribute to Stage 2 is welcome. The purpose of these weekly meetings is to unblock you if you are blocked. So come on in. Yeah, and then finally, what else is happening now? LLVM has cut the release branch, 12.x. I am way behind on updating our LLVM 12 branch, but I will get there. I really need to get, I'm probably going to have to interrupt everything this week and just test with LLVM 12, because if we don't get our bug reports in, we're going to have regressions when they release. So I'm going to have to just, it's like a CPU interrupt. I got to just drop everything and report bugs on LLVM. So that's another thing that just came up, kind of an emergency. So that's another thing. And yeah, that's a lot of things happening now, but I think that's the list.
Thank you. Okay, so this is what we're working on today, and if I remember correctly, after the self-hosted compiler, which still is gonna take some time, right? It's not gonna go live super complete right away. There's gonna be like a transition phase, but the next big stone after the self-hosted compiler, I believe, is gonna be the official package manager. So, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, one thing I can tell you is that the package manager is actually the main driving reason that we're focusing so hard on self-hosted right now. So my reasoning goes like this. If the package manager works well, people are going to use it. And if people use it, then we're going to see a proliferation of packages. And if we see a proliferation of packages, we're going to see projects that grow in number of lines of code, which is great because people will be depending on each other's code, and the Zig software out there will grow in dependency complexity and abilities of what kind of advanced software Zig is capable of creating. That's great. That's the desired outcome. But that means that the Zig compiler needs to be able to compile a lot of lines of code very quickly and without running you out of memory. And where we're sitting with our C++ based Zig implementation, it's not capable of handling that workload. It just can't do it. So that is to be clear, that is the driving force of why we're focusing so hard on self-hosted here. So yeah, the package manager is very important. And although we're focusing so much on the prerequisite, it's hard to see, this release cycle is not focusing on the package manager. It's going to be a future release cycle where the package manager is the central focus. I do want to personally be involved in the design of the package manager and lead the charge. So it's gonna have to happen after we can get to a milestone on the self-hosted compiler where I can spend that time on the package manager instead. But I want to be clear, the design process will happen in public, and not going to be like a Go situation here. So there's going to be plenty of time for the community out, share your experiences and ideas. We can have some iterations on the design of the package manager, that sort of thing. I also want to give credit where credit is due to Matt Knight and Megan for pioneering the field with Gyro and Zigmod, respectively. So these are the two kind of community-led efforts right now for if you want to try out package management in Zig without having the official one available yet, these are two projects you can check out. And I really appreciate them for working on them because they're solving the same problems that we're going to have to solve regardless. So it's all useful. And it also just gives us all some ideas, and experiences and some fodder for the design of the eventual upstream package manager. I want to be clear though, the end game here is going to be that everything happens automatically with Zig build and other subcommands of Zig. So it's not gonna there's not gonna be like a separate binary, like Rust has cargo. It's not gonna be like Zig and whatever. It's just gonna be Zig. There'll be subcommands because what we want is there to just be one binary and everyone has the same experience, and it's just like everything just works. But I still think that Gyro and Zigmod are still providing value in the meantime. Despite the fact that ultimately they're it's I will be pushing the official upstream package manager as the preferred method. A lot of the design decisions are still up in the air, but one thing that we know for sure is that it will be decentralized. So we will not have a main package index run by the Zig Software Foundation. That will not exist. However, it will work just fine with third-party package indexes. So if you want to run, a curation site or your own, package registry or something like that, you're welcome to. I think that's the place where it's kind of like the more the merrier. It's fine. And Zig will just be more of this tool that can support these other third-party projects. So that's all we know so far. There's going to be a release cycle in the future where we really focus on it and we do a couple iterations on it. We're just not there yet. We need the fast compiler as a prereq. That's where we're at.
Okay, thank you. Then let's talk about, I guess, the next big thing that is coming soon-ish, TM, which is the Zig Stability Program. I think I personally spent already a few words on it, but I think it would be nice to hear about it from you from a more technical perspective.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the Zig Stability Program, it's a way for us to make Zig 1.0 not be a binary thing where we go from what's the word? Just like a volatile, immature, not unstable, experimental, and then straight to completely stable, done everything. It's a way to kind of more gradually approach 1.0. So the idea is that we can choose some features of Zig, some kind of like subsections of the project, and we'll say this is now covered by the Zig bug stability program. And so what it means is that that particular feature is covered by that particular feature will get bug fixes, and we will have bug fix releases in which we prioritize bug fixes for these features. So, for example, one of the features that we're going to cover under the Zig Stability Program soon would be Zig CC. So what that means is that once we announce coverage of it, it means that if there's a bug or like a regression or something's just working wrong, not an enhancement, right? We will first of all we will release bug fix versions of Zig, zero, the third number, in order to address bugs in this feature, and bugs will be prioritized over other parts of the project, so that you can rest assured that at least these features aren't broken. They don't have bugs. However, we would still reserve the right to make breaking changes. It's bug stability, not feature stability.
Right, makes total sense, and I think, yeah, as you said, it's a way in which you can use Zig, get bug fixes, but not have to opt immediately into all the new potential breaking changes that we're going to make in your releases. So hopefully this will smooth out the path to adoption for certain people that have needs that we can already answer today, even if Zig is not yet fully completed. That was awesome. So, well, thank you very much. I won't press you with other questions about the future, because I'm sure that people in chat, we already have their good share of those. So let me scroll through the chat so I can start addressing what people have said. I would like to start with one point that I think this is not a question for you, but since we are here, let me just address it quickly. So Not Live is saying that Discord requires phone numbers, hates VPNs. Is there any plan to move away from Discord? I really appreciate how the IRC is super active. So Not Live, I guess this is more for me than anything else, because yes, there are different communities. Some are on Discord, some are somewhere else. Discord has a bunch of downsides, but it has also a bunch of good things that I think would be that I would like to take advantage of. Some I mentioned in the beginning of Showtime today, for example. I would say, and can you reach out to me? You can find my email address on Twitter. It's like loris@ziglang.org. Can you explain a little bit more in detail the issues that you are having with Discord? I won't promise that I can find a solution, but I would be curious to understand a little bit better, at least, how this is affecting you and maybe other people that just haven't said anything yet. So thank you.
Can I address that too?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
I personally would be willing to just hop around and use different venues for the like weekly meetings. Like maybe it's on Discord one week, maybe it's on a different place another week. I'm fine with that. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like where are the people are doing the work and want to participate, and what do they prefer? And so far, that's been Discord.
Oh, yeah.
But as for me, I'm fine with personally. I'm fine with changing venues, but it's kind of like this: whoever puts agenda items on the agenda, if wherever most of those people are, that's where the meeting is going to be, as long as everyone can get there.
You're right, Andrew. So for some reason, I forgot that, yes, the meetings are run on Discord. Oh, yeah, I'm sure we can point this out. Like, really, reach out to me. I'll try to ask what other people are thinking, and I think it wouldn't be that bad to like just jump on a Jitsi call. It like takes
Oh yeah,
nothing.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you, by the way, for reaching out. Let's see, questions for people. Okay, there's a couple of comments by Jacob about where the first Zig conference will happen, because he strongly believes that it should go on the roadmap. Well, Jacob, I don't know, Andrew, you want to say something?
No, I was laughing.
Okay, so from my perspective, that's a big question. I have two answers. I guess one is, I don't know. We need to understand a little bit better what the hell is going on with this pandemic, and when things are going to reopen, because there's a bunch of things that are happening, delays and stuff. So I yet have no idea when we are even going to be able to move. And also, there's an argument to say that we should maybe not like do something the next day. Like there's probably not gonna be like a global opening all at the same time, and so we probably want to wait for like at least the majority of the people in one specific area to, let's say that we want to have the meeting, a first Zig conference, which by the way is gonna be like a glorified meetup. But let's say we want to have it in Europe, we need to wait for most of Europe to be open. And right now, I think the only country that is doing well enough to kinda start thinking about opening is the only country that is outside of Europe, because they decided to leave. So I don't know. On the other end, I would say that these should not stop people from thinking of setting up their own Zig meetups, like their own local Zig meetups. And actually, if you are thinking about this, again, reach out, let me know. I'll see what I can do to help you. We are not the Python Software Foundation. I will probably not be able to send you boxes with t-shirts, Python stickers and stuff. Sorry, Zig stickers, I guess, and stuff. But maybe we can use a little bit of budget to support your effort. It has to be discussed, but please reach out. Everything starts with your initiative, and then I'll try to follow up and help you in every way I can. That said, for me, like as the, let's say, the first Zig Showtime real life event, I don't know. There were during Andrew, you probably haven't seen this yet because I think you were sleeping while FOSDEM was happening. Which, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this in the opening. We were at FOSDEM. We have a Zig Dev room at FOSDEM. The videos have been uploaded, I think yesterday. And you can, if you go to the Zig subreddit, you will find a link to those. So in the Q&A, we had these discussions where I was asking people, where do you want the first Zig conference to be? And of course there was a bunch of Dutch people that wanted it in the Netherlands, but I don't remember what were the other places. One was New York. Hayes was 100% set on New York. I don't know why. I think he kept saying that because this is where you were, even though you are not now there. So I don't know. But yeah. Okay, I don't know, Andrew. Where would you want the first Zig glorified meetup to be?
Anywhere but the US.
Why not? I mean, it's cold, missing power, coronavirus everywhere. Like, I'm joking. We're gonna have a bunch of stuff in the US for sure. But yeah, I think that the first one outside of the US would be interesting. Can you
We
imagine?
should do one
Yep.
in kind of Central Europe, and then we should do one in Australia, I think.
Ooh, nice. Can you imagine a tech thing that doesn't like start in California, doesn't have a conference in the center of San Francisco? It's mind blowing. Something like this can exist. I know it's crazy, but it can. Apparently it can.
I will say that I'm really excited to meet people in person and just talk and laugh and eat food and stuff. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. In a sense, other conferences, like other communities, have had to adapt to the pandemic, but I think the first like meetup style thing that we had was online. Like we're I don't know how to call it, lockdown native community.
Yeah.
We'll have to adapt to online events. That's to in-person events. That's gonna be amazing.
We're like all these children whose first school experience is on Zoom.
Oh God, yeah. Holy cow, that's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try to get some question that is more on topic with the Zig roadmap. Let's see. Question for the Q&A: will the stage 2 compiler be so fast and small that Zig could have an installer with source bundle distribution option? User installs app. Behind the scenes, embed the Zig compiles before the first time app runs. It only ships with the part of the standard library and the packages it needs.
So what? Okay, I'll say some stuff, but I want to ask a follow-up question for you to respond to while I'm going. What's the goal here? That's my follow-up question. But to answer the question, there's a optional LLVM component, and the default compiler that we are going to ship will have this included, and that makes the tarballs be about what they already are today. They'll be about 5 megabytes less, I think, but that's it. Because the Zig binary with LLVM is about 20-ish megabytes. Without LLVM, it's like 4. So I'm not sure. The official binaries we ship will not be small enough to do that. I can answer your question better if I understand what the goal is here.
Okay. I'll try to pick up the follow up and relate to you, Andrew. So in the meantime, let's see other questions. How is it decided which features get into the Zig's bug stability program? Do you want to take it or should I?
You go ahead.
I think the answer is it's complicated. We don't know yet. Some things I think it's kind of obvious that we want to prioritize. Like there are some, or maybe not obvious is maybe too strong of a word, but there are some things that like there are a lot of advantages to want to support unconditionally. I think I guess like ZigCC is one example. Um, Outside of that, there might be some other features that are super useful for a particular, maybe a company that could become a Zig champion today. If people make a bit of fun of Zig because they say there are no Zig jobs, they are dead wrong, because there are at least like 1, 2, 5 maybe Zig jobs out there, all the people in the core team. So first of all, they're wrong, but jokes aside, you get the point, right? They are kind of right. There are no Zig jobs. So we need to, since we don't have Google people, we don't have Amazon people, we don't have investment funds people in our board of directors, we have nobody that can open those doors for us. We have to kick the door open with the project being so good that you cannot say no. And I'm an expert of these proposals, like these offers that you cannot refuse. So we need something like this, and we need to do also the social effort of asking in the community if there's like anybody interested in this stuff. So what I think will happen is that we are going to send out some kind of survey. Like I'm saying survey, but I don't want to say like a Google form specifically. But we're gonna somehow find out what interest is there out there, and then make a decision on it. On one hand, making patch releases of Zig is a chore, takes effort away from the main development effort, but it can be worth it for one reason or another. One could be that this can allow us to get a sponsor that we would not otherwise have, and the sponsor can basically pay this effort, right? And even more by allowing us to have more core contributors contribute more time. Or it could be not a monetary thing. It could be, as I was saying earlier, a different thing where we can start saying, well, is anybody using Zig in production? Yes, because this giant company is using it for a very serious use case. Or it could be something else that we decide based on other reasons. So I think there is some discretionality there, and we don't have yet a precise answer. We probably will not have a like super precise answer either. But the point, which I think is the core idea, is that this is a tool for us to drive adoption of Zig. We need to be deliberate about this. It's not going to happen over time. There was a discussion in the handmade community, I think today, where a few people were saying that like Zig is not even a blip on the radar, and Rust, despite being everybody mentioning, besides being even if Rust is on everybody's mouth in the tech spaces, it still only has made a minor dent in actual like enterprise adoption, and that's a sad truth. That's very scary for communities like ours, since even then Rust is a super big thing, and we're not there yet. So we need to be deliberate, and we need to be smart about it. So that's where the Zig stability program comes into play, plus other things that maybe will come up in the future.
I'll tell you what our superpower is, though. We are an extremely lean organization. No money is going to waste, and we are making extremely efficient use of resources. So Zig can survive and thrive, even if it remains small. So that is something that we uniquely are equipped with.
Okay. Next, let's see. Let me scroll a little bit slow so I make sure I don't miss any. Luna is proposing Brazil. Rukas is saying Brazil
Ooh,
too.
I
Jacob
like that one.
Jacob has a bunch of good ideas. So one was in your home.
In my house.
Yeah, he's pointing out that there seemed to be a lot of space in that room. So he was thinking in that room specifically. But then I guess he changed his mind and he said Italy. So I'm fine with that too. Matt is pointing out that we can blaze it in Canada. What does
Oh,
blazing mean? Well, you'll explain it
it
to me
means
later.
420.
It means 420.
420 blaze it.
Let's see. Oh, Zach now, of course, is saying there's a place called Zig in Iran, so we should go in Zig, Iran.
Whoa. Okay.
Let's see. Question for Andrew: who unblocks you when you are blocked? Whoa.
Myself. Yeah. It's kind of like how compiler has to compile itself. I have to unblock myself.
That's a very deep question. Well, I think you mentioned a couple of times though that for some things the community has provided like an implementation that you would have not done yourself. So
You know what? That's an even better answer. I like that even better. And that's true because the amount of work that people are doing is incredible right now. It's even especially on the self-hosted compiler. Um, the work that Jakub has done on macho linking, I don't know. It's something that I wouldn't have been able to get to for years, probably. Um, the ARM backend stuff, the WASM backend stuff, all that stuff I've already mentioned. Um, I didn't do it. Someone else did it, and it works well, and it's progress, and that's awesome. Translate C is almost entirely maintained by Vika Vexu. So yeah, I mean that's the real answer.
there's another great question. This one is from Slimsag. Where do documentation improvements, both standard library and in general, fall in this roadmap?
They fall by the wayside. Serious answer is it's just not a priority right now. The thing is, things are changing so rapidly that any like a lot of the documentation would just have to change. So we got the core language documented. We got the standard library is changing really fast. I'm personally not prioritizing documentation at all at this time. That's something that I consider important, but more late stage in the strategy. It's just opportunity cost. That's all. I already think that we're paying a huge amount of opportunity cost for not working on the package manager right now or not having the package manager right now. So I want to avoid that opportunity cost first. What happens with having low quality documentation is some amount of gatekeeping where it's less newbie friendly, and that is a problem. I don't want to do newbie gatekeeping, but on the flip side, it does make us grow more slowly. If we had a lot of newbies come in really fast, I would want to be able to take care of them and provide them the experience they need, give them personal help, just like really take care of that user story. And I just don't have the resources to do it. So it's almost kind of like serving as a warning sign that if you come in here, it's going to be a little rough. So like get ready. We don't want it to be rough, but it just kind of is. I don't know. It kind of is a strategy to decide carefully at which point you start to like really, drop the gates and make the documentation like pristine. You know what I mean? So it's a fine line.
Okay. I think I want to add something on my side. I guess I have been trying to make some things more friendly than they were before. Of course, there are limits in what I can do. Like the website, I think it's better now, and I think that the new level of friendliness is appropriate. I think that we can compensate. So if you remember what the Andrew was pointing out in the first point, where you can change you can tweak, you can influence the prioritization, like the roadmap, by doing the work yourself. And I personally am interested, for example, in the auto docgen stuff. Like you won't see me contribute a backend to the self-hosted compiler. People that know me probably are not surprised by this statement, but a backend, as in a backend that generates machine code. But I am interested in the auto docgen things, and I've been working a little bit on this, by the way. I haven't mentioned it earlier, but in the process on working on the website, I extracted a piece of code that Andrew wrote for the language reference, and I packaged it as a separate thing. It's on GitHub. It's called I called it doc test. And basically, it's a piece of code that takes a code snippet and tests it, given some configuration that you provide to it. So the idea is that it's a testing framework, but not as in like the Zig unit test syntax construct that you have in the language. For example, this doc test can test expecting failure, expecting a compilation error, expecting a crash of the executable. And this is meant to basically power things that are showing you syntax, but are also showing you examples of how things go wrong, which is what is on the website. Like if you go into the in-depth overview, you will see a few examples that showcase how some errors are catched at compile time, how some other errors are catched at runtime. And this is all powered by Zig doc test, and this was integrated with the website so that now we have this running as a CI. So every time a new Zig build is produced, like the so-called nightly, which is not nightly, but it's more often, but like the build from the master branch trigger a rebuild of the website, which in turn tests all the code snippets so that we don't have any more outdated code snippets on the website. It's not perfect, but it's a great improvement compared to nothing that we had before. So this tool, Zig doc test, it's a tool that is super nice, not just for the Ziglang website, but also if you are writing a Zig book, for example, wink wink, and you should write a Zig book, you can use this so that it helps you basically keep your book up to date, which is something that especially now is particularly needed. So circling back to the original stuff, I am personally interested in documentation things, and I think I might be interested in taking up Andrew's offer on tweaking the roadmap by sending up a pull request for the auto doc generation stuff. The problem is the auto docs stuff depends on the compiler implementation. Like right now, autodocs is basically a big JSON file that contains a bunch of definitions of all the symbols defined and everything else. And this is generated by the compiler itself. It's C++ code. I'm not touching C++ code. So I'm waiting for stage 2 to be good enough so that then I can see what I can do there. If you're interested, let me know. We can collaborate on this, by the way. The Showtime Discord server has a bunch of channels dedicated to community projects. Like there's a channel for Ziegler, there's a channel for Bork, the chat project that I presented earlier. And I think at one point I'll start a channel for the doc work, maybe, if I actually go through with it. So yeah, I guess that's my take on it.
Sounds great.
Okay, let's see. Don't we have Zig in production already? Oh yeah, the Ziglang.org website does run partially on Zig, so that's definitely for sure. We also have an Ansentin. So I think we have even more people that actually are using Zig in production. It's just that they, like, they don't, their headquarter is not in San Francisco. So are those even real companies? I'm not even sure. But we'll get there. We'll get the clout we need.
That's
Maybe
right.
one day. Hot take: the foundation should stay independent from GAFAM, Google,
That's
Apple.
not even a hot take. That's just my regular take.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so not like, so just so you know, we are not against these companies investing in Zig if they want to, but we do have, like Y Combinator has, like, I think a standard offer when you get accepted into Y Combinator. We have our own version of that, and it's however amount of money you want to give us in exchange for 0 shares and 0 board seats. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I mean, don't get us wrong. Like, we're gonna provide a great tool that you're probably gonna want to use. You just don't get any strings attached.
Yeah. Replying to Andrew's follow-up question. So the point of Source Bundle with Z Compiler is to get the maximally optimized version of the application based on available CPU features. For certain tools, that's important, like AVX2 is available.
I kind of missed the first part of that question, but there's an issue, I believe, that fully addresses this, and it's called, what is the glibc or the GCC name for this? It's called function. I don't know. Anyway, there's an accepted proposal to detect CPU features at runtime and swap in versions of functions that take advantage of these CPU features. We'll
Holy
get there.
cow.
We're not there yet.
Okay, that's cool. I had no idea. I completely missed that. If anybody knows the issue number, please put it in chat. I think it's interesting. Okay, let's see. What else? Joachim is saying, I wouldn't describe the ARM backend as works well yet, but it's coming together slowly. That's nice.
Follow up to the previous one. It's number 1018, function multi-versioning. I believe that is the answer to the question.
Thank you. June has a kind comment on the website. The website is great. Thank you.
Oh, that's nice. It is great. Didn't Loris do a great job? I think he did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. You see, it's sometimes it's worth it learning all the HTML crap. But
we got to replace Hugo with a Zig project, though. I feel a lot of cognitive dissonance in my brain that we use Hugo.
Yep. But we need it to be like featureful. So if you do attempt it, let us know, because like there is a checklist of things that we need. Like one, for example, is internationalization. And on that topic, by the way, we have Chinese, we have Portuguese, we have English. I think somebody sent also a crappy Italian translation, and I think German is coming up next. So that's also nice.
Yeah.
So let's see next. Other questions? I think there are no other questions. Oh no, Isaac, no, there's no channel for Ziegler. But if you want one, we can make it. Like, if you want to collaborate with other people, we can make a Ziegler channel in the Showtime Discord, and sure, collaborate away. Right now it's like I haven't like officialized a way to no, I'm okay. Okay then. But if anybody wants to have a channel, just let me know. I would say it's like maybe I will want to kind of know you a little bit, but I'm super open to make a leap of faith and give a channel. Right now, these channels are basically the result of a few people coming together and deciding to do things together, or my stupid things like Borg, because I want everybody to know. That's it.
Yeah. For people who are watching who are not already regulars, there's one thing that happens to us fairly regularly where just like a new person comes in and then they just start trolling everybody, and then we have to go through this whole process, and it's annoying. But then most of the time, new people come in and they're great. So it's like every time a new person wants to make a proposal, I just have to go like scroll up and see like, are they being nice? Okay, yeah, they're good. Or like, are they trolling everyone? Okay, they're trolling me right now. So like, if you want to get a favor done, you want a channel, you want this, you want a proposal, this or that, it's all good. Come in, just like be nice to people for like 5 minutes, and then do your thing. That way, I know you're not just like a troll who just created a new account and came in. Just come in and be a normal, nice person and say hi and stuff like for a couple minutes, and then when you ask for a favor, I just scroll up and go, okay, they're normal.
Okay, I think we answered all questions. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Oh, I have a ping on Discord. Who's mentioning me on Discord? Let's see. Oh, it's Hayes. Is pointing out that he wants the first meetup to be in New York because New York is cool. Okay. Do you agree?
You know what though? Okay, so I've lived in New York and I've had Killer Queen tournament meetups, and the problem is that your friends all come in and they all need places to stay, and it's all expensive, and nobody has room to house people. Like we can't all just go sleep on Hayes' floor. He probably has, like a 0-bedroom apartment and no floor space in New York.
And there's a bunch of boxes of Apple stuff on the floor. So
oh no,
it's even more cramped.
I'm just saying, it might be nice to pick a place where people stay somewhere,
Okay, I think we are good. We answered all the questions. I think we can call it a day. So thank you everyone for being here. Andrew, any last words before we end the first Zig Showtime episode of 2021?
For great justice.
For great justice. Nice. Well, thank you everyone again, and see you soon.